It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, I read an article about home subscription for printing. Oh my gosh, it's getting exciting. This is a major OEM doing this. A couple weeks ago, I talked about Canon. Remember I said they'll probably get out of their direct business? I mean, why are they going to be any different than Ricoh or Konica? Well, when I saw this press release about the subscription printing in people's houses, I'm starting to convince myself that they're probably going to go ahead and go in the direction of Ricoh and Konica. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But before I do that, I want to talk about our good friends over at HP. I mean, folks, I got to be honest with you. I think I could do a video for 24 straight hours, never stop talking, and I'd still have so much content left about HP. Well, here they are. I'm on LinkedIn yesterday, and my good friend David Gibbons has a post out there. There's Euro consumers is seeking 150 euro compensation for each consumer who owns an HP printer from HP. The powerful consumer group has sent an open letter to HP and claims it as a strong case against the OEM for incompatibility of its printers with third-party supplies. Ladies and gentlemen, all the OEMs, you know, they all want to have 100% of the supplies going in those devices, but it's just not realistic, is it? No, it's not realistic. Consumers want to have a choice. Consumers always look to save some money. But our industry, that whole entire print industry, that business has never been more than 25%. The OEMs are getting 75% of the toner business, right? Of the ink business. So 25% of the people, you know, maybe people that are struggling a little bit financially, maybe people are just trying to look for a little bit additional value. Why don't you just let them buy what they want? What are you doing? This is just like, it's like a repetitive thing over and over and over again. There's always some kind of lawsuit coming up. It's just insane. The other thing, HP, you know, I talk about this Amplify thing. Well, folks, here's the deal with this. Look at this. Amplify for retail outlets. Isn't that exciting? HP Amplify Retail. Boy, they make it sound like it's the greatest thing in the world. Well, if you're a reseller dealer, if you're that BTA style dealer, you know what I'm talking about, that independent company that goes into businesses to sell print equipment, supply that equipment, and service that equipment. We all know it's moving from A3 to A4, right? A4 revolution. Well, HP has the Amplify contract with you. What are they asking for? A bunch of data. Y'all don't like the data grab, right? Well, now they're out there at the retail level. You know, what's going to happen? The retail level is a lot bigger than that dealer level, right? We all know that. Those retailers were selling millions and millions of dollars worth of printers, right? Through the COVID thing. Small stuff, A4, easy to ship, click buy now. What's going to happen when these retailers start realizing that those big giant A3s don't need to be big giant A3s, they can be A4s? What's going to happen when they start moving into that business space? What's going to happen when HP is getting all the data from the retailers, getting all the data from you? Folks, if you're a reseller in that B2B space, you need to pay attention to what these OEMs you're doing business with are doing. And you better clearly understand it. You better be asking some tough damn questions. Because when you read the press releases, I've talked about this before, it sounds like it's the greatest thing in the world. Is it the greatest thing in the world for the independent business? Is it the greatest thing in the world for the retail business? Is it the greatest thing in the world for HP? I think it starts there. I think it might be a damn great thing for HP. It's a damn great thing for HP to be able to force its, you know, end users to only use OEM toner. What a fantastic thing that is for HP. But at the end of the day, is it a fantastic thing for end users? Is that the kind of customer experience we want to be bringing end users? Do we want to constantly be battling, people arguing with us? I said a long time ago, I don't know of any other OEM where consumer groups all over the world are always yelling at them. Seriously. I don't hear of any of that. It's always about HP for some reason. Okay, so now let's talk about our friends over at Canon. Folks, new Canon home office print as a service program. Have we just lost our minds, OEMs? Seriously. Not everything should be on a subscription, especially things that are declining in use. You know, there was a time when people were taking pictures with their smartphones. I think it was before they even called them smartphones. They were just phones that took pictures. And then they would go home and they had these printers and they were printing off these pictures so they could hang them up all over their house, the little baby, Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas time. And now what do? They just leave them in the cloud. They don't even print them off anymore because now we got a smartphone. We have digital frames that display pictures in our houses. So we're not even printing that anymore. And inside our houses, we're not printing a whole lot of stuff. And when we go from the office to the home, we're not going to be printing a whole lot of stuff. Why do you people believe that we're going to be printing all this documentation as part of a business process? It's insanity. Pure insanity. Subscriptions aren't for everything. And in declining marketplaces, it just doesn't make sense for a subscription in your house. A subscription service for a business with an understood workflow, with an understood amount of prints that are going to be printed and copied makes a little sense. But in your house, are you kidding me? Let me ask you all a question. Remember the typewriter? Could you imagine if some genius back in the day when the typewriter was just basically being made irrelevant from the word processing? Could you imagine if they went around and they said, we got subscription typewriter, pay by the letter? And think about it, back then words were a lot longer. Seriously, there wasn't this, texting going on where you only use a couple of letters. I mean, people actually typed out the whole word. Subscription typing by the letter would have been very, very, it could have been a great deal. Would it have saved the typewriter industry? Hell no. It doesn't matter how you build something. When it's declining, it's declining. When it's being replaced by newer technology, it's being replaced by newer technologies. Will y'all knock off this nonsense about trying to figure out how to put print in people's houses on a subscription? We're going to see the subscription news as HP starts to report more and more of their financials, and they're going to brag about how many subscriptions they signed up for $1.99 a month or something. Then we're going to start seeing where customers got these huge overage bills because they printed only 100 pages, by the way. What was the subscription for? 10 pages? Folks, here's the reality. When it's declining, it's not a candidate for subscription. When it's declining, sell it to the customer the way it makes it easy. Give them an e-commerce platform. Let them buy somehow that makes sense to them. Click buy now. Ship the toner the next day. It's not that complicated. We're making this way too complicated, trying to jam the home worker into the office worker based on a 1990 business model. Pure insanity. So that's just my 2 cents, but I do believe that if they're going to be making decisions like this over at Canon, they're surely going to end up in the boat where Ricoh and Konica and they're going to have to exit out of the direct business. Because that's just pure insanity. Just something to think about, my friends, because we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.